Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I hope you've had a good week. I hope you're well. It feels like there's been a lot in the press about alcohol this week, or maybe not so much the press, but social media. There was that really fantastic podcast with Stephen Bartlett. I mean, the stuff he does is always great, isn't it? But the Addiction Doctor one that I'm sure you've seen across social media, Addiction Doctor, Alcohol Rewires Your Brain. Was the title. How many glasses of wine increase cancer risk? And it was really well done, and it absolutely blew up across social media with just telling facts. I mean, they're just facts. And when I think back, sort of 8 years ago, I would have hated that. I really would. Like, how dare you? How dare you throw those disgusting facts at me? Just tell me the good stuff about it being good for my heart. But yeah, it's just great, isn't it, when people are finally telling it like it is. Really, really fantastic. It got so much kind of traction, and it feels as though off the back of that there's been, perhaps it's just that I'm seeing it more, but it just feels as though there's been more chat about the harm that alcohol does. There's been, various celebs popping up. I say always are, but I don't know. I just feel like perhaps I've noticed it more. There was a post by about Miley Cyrus and just various other stuff across social media. It feels just really positive, I think, that so many more people are talking about this than certainly than a few years ago. And my TEDx talk, if you haven't seen it, my first TEDx talk was called Sobriety Rocks, Who Knew? It's only 11-12 minutes long. Have a watch of it if you haven't seen it before. And that was picked up by the Reframe app. They posted it on social media. They didn't actually credit it, but then the second time around they did. So that was nice. And because they've got huge traction, it was fascinating for me reading the comments, because the first time they posted it wasn't linked. They didn't use my name or the name of the TEDx talk, so people didn't know that they didn't know or care who had done it. It was just like this was the clip. So they used a clip where I'd said alcohol is the only drug we have to justify not taking, and there's much. I can't remember the exact section, but talking about the way that we, think of alcohol as just being, accepted in our society, normalized in our society. And the comments, I read some of the comments. It's very bizarre reading. I'm sure if you're famous, you have to do it all the time, right? But reading comments that people have written about stuff that you've said, and there were loads of comments saying, I've been sober for however long, and I absolutely agree, and alcohol is harmful, and if alcohol came out, was released today, it would probably be banned, and comment after comment like that. But then there were a few that were, well, I'm good with my alcohol, and yeah, that's absolutely fine. And then there was one I remember quite clearly. It said, mind your own business. If I choose to drink, I will. You're trying to meddle in other people's lives. And I was thinking, what? It was so bizarre. It was like, what? Why would someone bother to watch a clip of a TEDx talk called Sobriety Rocks, Who Knew? And bother to make that kind of comment? It's so bizarre. It's like, seriously, I'm not quoting, I'm not sort of campaigning or petitioning for prohibition. If you want to carry on drinking, knock yourself out. I'm absolutely not trying to talk to people who are happy with their drinking. That's, carry on. I just recognize that there are so many people who are not happy and who are waking up at 3 a.m. as I was, and they want to know that they're not the only ones caught in that trap, So anyway, so it's been quite a week, both for my social media kicking off with people seeing the TED Talk, and and various other bits and bobs in the media around alcohol. But it's all good, isn't it? It's all great, the more that gets out there, the better it is for us all, really. And within the Sober Club, we've had some lovely wins in the Sober Club. Lots of people just sharing that I think there was one woman who'd been on holiday, just had the most fantastic first sober holiday, just feeling so proud of herself. It was really great. Others just stepping up their well-being, really, sort of actually admitting that they were focusing on eating well and stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't get better. So yeah, really, really fantastic. And so that brings me beautifully to this week's podcast. You've heard me speak so many times on this podcast about the importance of good nutrition, particularly in early sobriety. Well, I mean, always, but in early sobriety, it's absolutely essential. It really, really is essential to get that right at the beginning, because it just helps so much with with rebalancing that brain chemistry in the early weeks. So part of in the sober coach training that I offer, we do a lot around nutrition, and a large part of the course is centered around how we can support people balance that brain chemistry, just really help them with those kind of neurotransmitters and because everything is shaken up. It really is. So anyways, to that end, I have invited Dale Pinnock, the medicinal chef who works with us on our sober coach training, and I have interviewed him before, but it was a long time ago, so I thought it'd be great to get Dale back on. He was on a radio show that I did for BBC Three Counties Radio a few weeks ago, so I thought I'd get him back on the podcast. And for anyone who hasn't heard these basics around nutrition, they really are the basics, but it's just so great to hear them again. And certainly if you are early weeks, then this stuff is so valuable for you. It really is. And we chatted a little bit about supplements as well, so if you check the show notes, I'll give you a link to the specific brands that are recommended for the supplements that we talk about. Yeah, it's not absolutely essential to supplement, although I do think everybody needs magnesium. I really do, the right blend. But it just helps things along, along with fantastic nutrition. Just before we get to that, a reminder that we have a really special event Wednesday, 18th of June. At Club Soda in London, a recording of the podcast done live, as it were, with an audience. It's so much fun. It's a small venue, so you get to chat to people. You definitely don't feel as though you're kind of on your own. So if you are coming on your own, just let us know. We'll make sure that we meet you. Alcohol-free drinks. You can get a discount on some of the amazing stuff they sell in the off-license bit, as it were, in the shop. And literally sit at the bar and have a proper grown-up drink. And my guest is Clare Pooley. She's always fantastic value, amazing value, author of The Sober Diaries, of course, and several best-selling novels. And Clare is just so inspirational. So I'm really looking forward to chatting to her again. And also Becky from the Sober Socialites will be sharing a little bit of her story. It's just a lovely occasion to meet people. I know it's a Wednesday night and all, and I know it's like, oh, I've got to get to London, but come if you can. I mean, we've done a few of these, and everyone who comes, they're just so glad they made the effort. So please come if you can. If you go to thesoberclub.com and click on events, you'll see the information there. And then if you are in Hertfordshire, the following week, 24th of June, I'm going to be hosting or be part of the British SupperClub series at Lussmanns restaurant in St Albans. That's going to be fun. So it's going to be a kind of a no booze dinner, as it were. But don't worry, there are some incredible alternatives. We've got naughty alcohol-free fizz. I think Wilford's drinks are going to be on the menu. So there's going to be some really interesting tasting going on. So check that out as well. Again, if you go to thesoberclub.com, click on events. And then I'm finally getting back to Cornwall. I love Cornwall so much. I definitely lived there in a former life. And I'm going to do the literary festival with my memoir from Wham to Woo, A Life on the Mic. Going to be there on the 2nd of July. I think it's the second, my event. So if you happen to be in Cornwall, it would just be so great. I'd love to have a little meetup of podcast listeners in Cornwall. I've been wanting to do something down there for so long. So please come along. Please grab a ticket. They're not expensive. It would be great to see you, and perhaps we can have a coffee first, or a walk by the sea or something. So check that out. It'd be really great to see you. But the first one to book is the Club Soda one, Wednesday, 18th of June. Just go to thesoberclub.com. Oh, and if you missed the webinar, by the way, I did a webinar on sober coach training, just for those people who are further down the line and now thinking of, a different purpose, giving back, and sort of doing a bit of getting a skill set for life, as it were. My next sober coach training kicks off in October, and we're booking places now. And if you missed the webinar, if you just drop me a message, I will send you a recording, and we can always, catch up and have a chat. Enjoy the interview. Well, I'm absolutely delighted that my lovely friend Dale is with us. How are you, Dale? I haven't chatted for ages.
Good. Not bad.
Well, actually, we did have a chat on the radio, didn't we? But
it's always weird when it's down the line. Because,
I know.
It's a chat, but not a chat. So
yeah,
I couldn't bring in food for you.
I know, absolutely. That's always a blessing. Yeah, shame you can't fax me some food, as we used to say in the old days. So for anyone who's not aware, Dale is known as the medicinal chef, a nutritionist, a chef, a Sunday Times bestselling author, who spent goodness knows how many years doing evidence-based nutrition. 30 years.
I've been in the industry. That's frightening.
Okay. So you might have seen Dale on the telly on This Morning, or on Eat Shop Save, or read one of his best-selling books. Nutrition is your life, isn't it, Dale? Really, there isn't much you don't know about it. Let's put it that way. Do you just want to share a little bit about your background, just what got you into it all in the first place? I always find that fascinating.
Well, I think like pretty much everyone that discovers the wellness field, it's their own wellness journey that kind of takes them there. For me, it was my skin. From the age of about 10 or 11, it was the summer of leaving primary school to go up to secondary school, I started getting really bad acne. And I mean, I looked like I'd been shot in the face with a blunderbuss. It was really bad. And over the years, I went to lots of different doctors and practitioners and dermatologists, and all the rest of it had topical antibiotics, oral antibiotics, the lotions, the potions, all of the normal interventions. And nothing made a massive difference. It would help a little bit here and there, but nothing really changed the situation. And then I was 15 years old, sat around at my friend's house one night, moping and feeling sorry for myself because of the state of my skin. And his mum lent me a book, and it was a book called Fit for Life by Harvey Diamond, which is like old school,
really old school,
80s cult classic, wasn't it?
Yeah, really.
And she said, unless you look after what's going on the inside, nothing's going to change on the outside. Obviously, as a 15-year-old boy, one side of me was kind of like, well, yeah, whatever. The other side of me was like, if she would have said, if you run out in your garden on a full moon wrapped in tinfoil, that would cure it, I'd have done it. Yeah. So, I was pretty open. Read this thing cover to cover in a weekend, and that was it. Boom, there was the light bulb moment there that we can actively engage in our own healthcare. We're not passive in this process. We can take steps to improve a situation. As long as we're taking informed steps, as long as we have the right kind of guidance and actually have the right strategy in place, we can actively engage in this thing rather than just be victims of circumstance. And that was it. And I kind of mucked about for a couple of years and actually realized what I wanted to do. I used myself as a guinea pig at that point. I became hooked on the subject. I read over 1,000 books on it. I've tried every diet under the sun, hospitalized myself twice because of my my weird adventures with that industry, but that's a story for another day. And I got to a point where I was like, well, nothing else captivated me. This is the thing that I want to do. This is the thing that I need to actually go and pursue. And I grew up in the middle of the rave scene, right? So working hard at school wasn't my number one priority. It was like getting to Dreamscape on the weekend. So I had to catch up. I was quite late going to university. I had to play catch up, and then that was it. I did my first degree in human nutrition. Did my a second degree in herbal medicine, and then did a master's in nutritional medicine. And that whole time I worked in the industry as well. So I worked quite closely in the supplement industry and with, health food store brands and stuff until I actually qualified as a practitioner. And then I sort of changed direction slightly.
I mean, I love the fact that you call yourself the medicinal chef, because food is medicine, isn't it? And that whole piece around nutrition being the core thing. I mean, even to this day, it must still drive you bonkers, as it drives me bonkers, that not enough is made of this within the medical profession. There are still many doctors who don't understand that nutrition is the basis of everything.
I would say that they understand that it's a key part of it, but they've not necessarily had the training.
Yeah.
I mean, my closest mate in the village here is a GP, and he's constantly asking me questions because he knows that most of the patients that are walking through his door, the pharmaceutical intervention is stopping them dying prematurely, but it's not making them better. It's not actually
exactly. It's covering up.
And the data is really strong that lifestyle interventions for things. And you look at what are the biggest burdens on our healthcare system: type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity and related complications, and many preventable cancers. And all of these things, and this isn't finger wagging or pointing blame, but all of these things are related to lifestyle. But it's a lifestyle that is very easy for us to fall into because of our modern environment.
Yeah.
A lot of doctors see that. A lot of doctors get that. But an interesting thing, when I was doing my master's, every other student, apart from there was like me and one other person that happened to be a gastroenterologist, all the rest were GPs.
Is that right?
So there is that thirst for knowledge.
Wow, that's interesting.
If you think about the late 90s or the early noughties in this particular industry, it's like we were heretics. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
If we dared actually mention that diet and lifestyle interventions might be an important part of the process, we would get the full force of Ben Goldacre.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I know exactly what that means. Yeah, but having said that, so that's brilliant that as you say, more there were lots of doctors doing that, but really it's crazy that it's not part of their training. They get half a day in nutrition, don't they? So why isn't it part of their training? That's the crazy piece.
You think about what their job really is most of the time. I mean, for a GP, it's an applied diagnostician that needs to know when to refer or when to prescribe.
Yeah, true.
That's it. They're gatekeepers.
True. But then when they do refer on to dietitians or, in inverted commas, nutritionists, I mean, and unless things have changed, certainly in the last few years, when I've come across people who've been to see NHS dietitians, the advice given is appalling.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, isn't it? And before they train as GPs, they have to be on the wards. So they have to learn all the emergency interventions and so much. It's just that it would end up taking the training to like 10, 15 minutes.
True.
I think that's the big point. And a lot of them do train afterwards and do CPD. So it's changed.
It's changing.
How it was even 10 years ago, there was a huge amount of resistance.
Good. Well, that's good to know. But look, let's get to nutrition then. So what are name me 2 or 3 nutrition myths that drive you absolutely bonkers.
Blimey.
I'll see if they drive me bonkers too. I'll start. Fat is bad for you.
Depends what kind of fat. Trans fat is not going to do you any favors, but good, healthy saturated fats. So animal-derived saturated fats in the right kind of metabolic environment, very, very important. They provide the key building blocks for things like your steroidal hormones, like the sex hormones and cortisol, and even end up being the precursors for vitamin D. Certainly the long chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, absolutely vital for our health because they help to regulate inflammation. They help to maintain the structural integrity of cell membranes, especially within the central nervous system. They help to actually protect the myelin sheath, which is like if you look at the cells in our nervous system, like neurons, you'll see there's like these little capsules that run along the length. And in between these capsules, there's a little space. Well, those little capsules are called the myelin sheath, and they are a fatty structure. And the gaps in between are called the nodes of Ranvier. That structure, and that structure like being maintained constantly is vital for information to be carried along that neuron. So those fats are absolutely essential. That's where the whole thing of fish being good for the brain
fatty fish
from. That whole understanding around that. So yeah, vitally important.
But also, and what else would you add in there though? You're talking avocado, coconut oil, olive oil. What else would you include when you think of fats and omega-3s?
Coconut oil I use for high temperature cooking.
Yeah,
because
it doesn't degrade.
Most of the time, most of the time I'll use extra virgin olive oil for like stovetop cooking. But if I'm doing something like roast potatoes or cooking something on a stovetop for a prolonged period of time, then I would use something like coconut oil, for the simple reason that you don't, like you say, you don't get that degradation, you don't get that trans fat formation because it's a saturated fat. You can take it up to really, really high temperatures and you won't get the trans fats formed. Because the trans fat, I mean, we don't need to get into all the nerdy chemistry, but basically, if you've got an unsaturated fatty acid, when energy is applied to it, enough energy, it just flips around on itself.
Yeah.
So it's when that happens, it becomes really quite toxic. And you find these fats in highly processed foods and that kind of thing, but we were taught to be fat phobic from
exactly
the 70s onwards.
That's right. Yeah,
it really must blew up in our face.
Yeah, totally. And so on that note, then, what about the recent furore over seed oils? What's your view there?
Yeah, this is a bizarre thing. It's like I've been talking about omega-3, omega-6 balance for at least 15 years.
Yeah,
and I mean, the first time I was on with you on Righty, I mean, what was that? That was 2012, 2011, something like that. I was talking about it then. It's been something I've been talking about for a long time. And there's validity to it. And we're talking about massive scale trials. What seems to have gone wrong is people say, right, seed oils are inflammatory. And that's a half truth. What they should be saying is the seed oils affect, because of their actual composition, their fatty acid composition, they're very, very high in omega-6 fatty acids. So like omega-3, omega-6 is an essential fatty acid. So omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, they are essential. We need to consume them. But the amount of each group that we need varies quite dramatically. Okay. We need a considerable amount of the long chain omega-3 fatty acids, but only a very small amount of the omega-6 fatty acids. The small amount that we need gets converted into some hormone precursors, got some very, very essential roles to play in neurotransmitter function as well. So it is essential. The thing is, the pathway that actually metabolizes and converts the omega-6 fatty acids is very rapidly saturated, meaning it's completely full. There's no more enzymes there to do the job. If more and more omega-6 is coming in when we've reached that point, then it's got to be dealt with. It still goes through conversion pathways. It just flips down a different pathway. Now, one of the metabolic end products of fatty acid metabolism is groups of substances that we call inflammatory mediators, things like prostaglandins and leukotrienes. And these regulate what the inflammatory response does. There's three main groups of the prostaglandins, for example, series 1, series 2, and series 3. Different fatty acids are metabolized to become different types of prostaglandin. Series 1 prostaglandins, mildly anti-inflammatory. Series 2 prostaglandins, aggressively pro-inflammatory. So switch it on and ramp it up. The series 3 prostaglandins, aggressively anti-inflammatory. Now, once that pathway that metabolizes omega-6 in a healthy way gets saturated, any additional that comes in gets put in a pathway that creates the series 2 prostaglandins. So you're actually ramping up the inflammatory response by this elevated consumption or increased ratio in terms of more 6 than 3.
Which is what most people have got, right?
Yeah,
most people have got too much omega-6.
Exactly. So the seed oils, in and of themselves, aren't pro-inflammatory, but because they actually affect that inflammatory balance, that omega-3 to omega-6 balance, that's where the problem lies. Yeah. So really what people are arguing over is semantics. The actual physiological end point that matters is very clearly established. But you know what, people on social media, we look, let's be honest, we are in in an era where people are recreationally outraged. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what tribe you're in. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about politics, whether you're talking about nutrition, whatever. People just love to be outraged because they can, and they get applauded for it.
Yeah.
So beyond all that noise, there's actually, some very, very strong physiological truths. So I've always said to people, I mean there was one of my books, The Power of Three. It was like 3 core nutritional principles for a long-term good dietary plan, really. The whole thing was like, we don't know what the perfect diet is, but we know of 3 areas that cause a lot of damage. And if you do the opposite, you're probably, until we know better, hedging your bets. And one of those was that fatty acid balance, to reduce the 6, increase the 3, because you're influencing that inflammatory response.
Yeah. And one way to do that, of course, is to eat less processed foods, because we get loads of omega-6 in your pies and your pastries and your biscuits, right?
Absolutely. One of the top sources. And then when you're cooking, use something like extra virgin olive oil, because yes, it's still an unsaturated fat source, but the main fatty acid in there is an omega-9 fatty acid called oleic acid, and that's actually very beneficial for cardiovascular health. So if you're using that, then you're supplementing with EPA and DHA, and if you're not vegan, if you're happy to eat fish, then eating the oily fish a few times a week, then you're covering your bases.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if there's somebody who it wants to feel better, quickly, and they want to do it via their food, what are the first things you would encourage them to change? Obviously, as you say, let's look at that ratio. What else would you get them to consider?
The simplest thing, and this is the really bizarre thing as well, it's we're also in a clickbait era. So
exactly.
To make things very complicated or have the contradictions, but really it is so simple. The simplest thing you can do that will make the biggest difference is just move over to whole foods.
Yeah, real food.
And that is like the kind of food that your great grandparents would recognize. There's a few cheesy kind of sayings that can reinforce it, and it's like, if it ran, swam, grew, or flew, then eat it.
Yeah.
Behind. And then another one, which I still think is like a grammatical cataclysm, but that is, real food doesn't contain ingredients. Real food is ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
It sounds wrong, but it's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's the no label foods, isn't it?
Yeah,
if it doesn't have a label, it's good to eat, right?
And it's simple, like simple thing like swapping the white for the brown. So for your carbohydrate staples, instead of white rice, brown rice. Instead of white bread, a multigrain bread. And then just loads and loads of plants, loads and loads of high quality protein. And that's it. And you can do with that whatever you want. You can be eating, I mean, here at home we eat curries and pizzas and all sorts of things, but make it from scratch, make it from whole foods.
Yeah.
And it just makes it effortless. It means you can still enjoy all the food that you love.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there are nuances. If you're dealing with very, very specific health considerations, then you may want to make specific tweaks to your diet. But you would come and see someone like me. You would come and see a practitioner to get that guidance.
Yeah.
But certainly on a population level, on that large scale level, what's applicable to virtually everyone is that shift over to whole foods.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
It's very simple, but
it is.
It's profound in terms of the impact that it has, in terms of the way it impacts your metabolic health. So things like blood lipids, cholesterol ratios, systemic inflammation, how it influences your microbiome, how it influences your micronutrient intake, your antioxidant intake. All of these things will improve with that one simple shift. Yeah. So it's a really good fundamental place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what we talk about all the time, and as sober coaches, when people are first ditching the booze, they need real food. If they're on some kind of faddy diet or whatever,
as well.
Yeah, exactly. But if they're fasting, if they're doing something kind of really weird for the first few weeks at least, you just got to get back to proper food, and protein, of course, is one of the important things.
What would you... a simple rule with each meal when you look at your plate? If you say 50% of your plate is non-starchy vegetables, so salad, or it could be like cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cavolo nero, whatever.
Yeah,
it's half of your entire plate.
Yeah,
and then the other half, divide that into 2 again. got a portion of high fiber, slow burning carbohydrates. That could be potatoes.
Yeah.
When did potatoes kill anyone?
I know. I
Um,
love a
I know
potato.
it's just like or fruit. It's just like, oh yeah, all of those blueberry related deaths. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all um, some really amazing healthy foods have been demonized. So yeah, a good portion of high fiber, slow burning carbohydrates. So yeah, root vegetables, quinoa, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, whatever. And
Yeah.
then the other quarter of the plate, a good quality protein source, whether that's meat, poultry, fish, or whether that's tofu or tempeh or eggs or whatever,
Yeah.
as long as it's a good quality protein.
So
And
in
that's
terms,
right.
let me just ask you in terms of protein. So we say it would be a quarter of the plate or whatever. But for anyone who's struggling to get protein, how much in a day? Let's take the average woman, for example, because you hear so many differing stories about how much protein. But can you tell me in terms of food rather than grams?
I wouldn't necessarily like do it in grammage
No,
because
exactly.
there's there's a lot of nuances there as well. It depends on how active someone is.
Yeah, exactly.
If someone's very, very active, the protein requirement is slightly higher. I would say just at each meal, make sure there's a protein source.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure that
Exactly
there's
that.
a portion of a high protein food. You hear a lot of people talking about, certainly in the plant-based world, you hear people talking about combining certain foods together will give you a complete amino acid profile. And yes, that's true. But there's other metabolic benefits that come with eating whole protein sources. So as long as there's a whole protein source there. So if you were plant-based, it could be tofu or tempeh. They're both complete proteins.
Mm, yeah.
Or it could be chicken or fish or whatever. Just one portion. So chicken, be like one chicken breast or one chicken leg, one fillet of salmon.
Mm.
Don't get too fixated on. I mean, that's another very unhealthy relationship that was instilled in people, certainly in the 80s. I mean, God, I remember my mum doing it when I was a kid, like weighing out every single bit of food and calculating things and tracking it. If you're an elite athlete or you've got very, very specific athletic goals, fine.
Mm.
If not, just learn how to create good, healthy meals and good, healthy plates of food and develop healthy eating habits.
Yeah.
Because that's the fundamental that most people don't get right. They dive straight into one of these extreme diets or extreme plans and then deviate because that foundation isn't there. If the foundation of the way that you eat every single day is good whole foods assembled in a balanced way, then anything else that you do, if you want to start going deeper and deeper and making more changes, is always going to be built on that solid foundation. And if you do deviate, you'll be deviating back to a healthy foundation again. So those are the things to really, really get right.
Yeah.
And that comes with just relaxing into it, just understanding like what the good foods are, how to put a good balanced meal together, and that's it. That's as complex as it needs to be. And also, I would say to people, give your favourites a facelift. So don't deny yourself of the food that you love, just make it differently.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what your books are fantastic at, sharing, really great recipes that don't take hours and days and searching for unusual ingredients. It's just real food, isn't it? Largely, it's real food. So obviously, as lots of people listening to this will be will have ditched the booze or in the process. Obviously, we have to talk about sugar because that's going to be the thing that is going to kick in, isn't it? Those sugar cravings. So just talk to us a bit about a bit about that. What's going on there? It's that brain chemistry piece, isn't it, where everything just needs to recalibrate. So we get the sugar head on, and we want the ice cream at midnight.
Yeah, there's a few elements. There's a few parts to that. Obviously, in the initial stages, there's going to be blood sugar fluctuations, but that doesn't last long. 24 hours or so. That's in the early stages. But where these kind of dysfunctional relationships with a substance or a behavior comes from is dopamine.
Yeah,
dopamine
exactly.
is the driver. The reward association, the reward seeking behavior is what underlies all of it.
Yeah.
And when you take one out of the equation, you'll very quickly find something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of it. You can't you have to be quite strict with yourself in that respect. I would say just make sure it's not in a house. If you find that you're going for very, very sweet things or lots of sweet treats, just don't buy it. Just don't have it in a house, and make sure that you've got all those healthy things available, so that your only real options are those healthy foods, or get creative in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. I want something that's got a bit of a sweet element to it, but I'm committed to making these healthy changes now. So get creative. Like anything from like energy balls through to oat bars through to anything.
Chocolate avocado mousse.
Chocolate avocado toast, absolutely, yeah. That's great. That one. A tiny little bit of melted cacao butter in there, and you actually turn it into a ganache sort of texture.
Yeah, amazing.
Really, really nice.
Yeah,
or really, really simple.
Yeah,
Put some dates down.
Yeah,
cling film over the top. Flatten them out with a rolling pin, so they're sort of squidged together.
Yeah,
cling film off. A layer of peanut butter, a layer of dark chocolate. Let that set in the fridge.
Yeah, amazing.
It's very, very nice. And it's giving that sweet hit, but you're also getting fiber, you're getting protein, you're getting healthy fats, you're getting micronutrients. If you eat the whole bar every single day, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
But it's a healthier alternative. The brain chemistry does settle down. The equilibrium does settle, because obviously you've been driving dopamine for such a huge amount of time, and you're also getting a huge GABA from drinking. And when you take away that GABA hit, you start getting huge amounts of some of the excitatory neurotransmitters coming into like a compensatory effect, so you can get jittery, or that experience of anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when, because you've had such elevated GABA levels from the alcohol, once the alcohol is metabolized, you start releasing neurotransmitters like glutamate, for example, that can just make you feel really, really edgy, and that's where that anxiety stuff comes from. So you're going to have a period where your neurotransmitters and your brain chemistry is going to be all over the place.
Yeah,
and just go with it. And by having those healthier things on hand when you have that craving. Here's another thing. We were talking about protein. If it's just related to blood glucose, protein is your best friend there.
Yeah,
having protein at each meal really stabilizes blood glucose. But then having healthier versions of that sweet fix on hand whilst things are calming down.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see, like 6 weeks down the line, things feel very different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what I always try and share with people, that if you're eating properly, if you're having proper food, a proper satiating food with fat in there as well and protein, there's a lot less room for the absolute crap. And then when you do still have the craving, you can absolutely make those healthy swaps. And what I find, often is that people will say, "Oh, my diet's fantastic." And you go, "Okay, well, so what do you have for breakfast then?" And they'll say, "Oh, well, you'd be proud of me. I have a bit of cereal and a few blueberries with it." "Oh, right, okay." And then for lunch, I have a bit of vegetable soup and a little bit of bread. And for dinner, I have some pasta with salt. Well, great, but where's the protein? There isn't any the whole day. Right? So actually,
it's probably like not enough calories to sustain a small rodent either.
Yeah, exactly. So, and well, that's the other thing. It's very interesting, isn't it, that when we're drinking, or when we first stop, we very often mistake hunger for craving alcohol, whereas actually we just need to eat. The amount of people that say to me, "Oh, it's about tea time. I'm making food for the kids and I get this absolute craving and I have to have alcohol." No, you don't. You have to eat. Have your dinner early.
But some of that's like the routine as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the habit that we get into. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So just tell me, and I know it's a massive topic, which we can't get into the whole thing, but just tell me a little bit about how we start to repair the damage that we've done with the damage we've done to our liver, the damage that we've done to our gut health because of drinking. I mean, is that just a case of let's put those good foods back and the good nutrients back in?
I mean, there's certain things that you can do to improve the health of a lot of the organs that take a pummeling. The good thing is the liver is a very, very forgiving organ. As long as you've not got to the point of full cirrhosis, then it will just regenerate itself if you give it the right environment. Even if there is some early stage fibrosis, as long as there's still healthy tissue there, it will regenerate itself. But that only comes with abstinence. You can use things like glutamine. So there's an amino acid called glutamine. Taking that has two benefits. Firstly, it is a precursor to the enzyme glutathione, which is a key part of phase 2 detoxification pathways in the liver.
Yeah. So
you're really helping the liver to sort itself out, basically. And then you've got something called milk thistle. Now, milk thistle
it's great for the liver, isn't it?
It is. And people always say that it's a liver detoxifier. It's not. It has absolutely zero detoxifying effect on the liver whatsoever. What it is it contains a phytochemical called silymarin. And silymarin has a very powerful anti-inflammatory activity, but it seems to only have it on hepatocytes, which is the cells of the liver. So it helps to tone down inflammation in the liver, but you have to get a high-strength extract, a good high-strength extract. So those two things.
So you recommend the liquid milk thistle rather than capsules? No,
the capsules.
Capsules. Okay.
Yeah, I think Napier's do one like the highest strength one you can find.
Yeah.
Like industrial strength.
Yeah.
That will really help some of the inflammation to come down. But the glutamine, it will support liver function, but it also plays a second role. Glutamine is used by the enterocytes, so the cells that make up the wall of the gut. They use it to actually stimulate growth and repair mechanisms. I mean, the gut is completely self-regenerating as well, in a very, very short window of time. But one of the things that, things like excessive alcohol, excessive ultra-processed foods, stress, all of it combined, all of these things can start to affect several things within the gut. Firstly, we all know that it has a negative impact upon the microbiome.
Yeah.
Okay. We know that it can change the microbiome. It can reduce bacterial number. It can cause what we call dysbiosis, where there's an increased amount of more problematic microbes in there than beneficial ones. That's the first thing it can do. Secondly, it can reduce what's called the mucus layer. And I'll come to all of these things individually in a minute and tell you why they're relevant and how it all fits together. And then it can cause inflammation of the gut wall. If you think about it, the gut wall is only one cell thick. And these cells, called enterocytes, sit together. And they sit really tightly together. But there's still the potential that something could squeeze through the gap and get into the body and cause a problem. So the way that the body gets around that is there's little bands of protein that are called the tight junction. Okay, so if you imagine you put two matchboxes next to each other, when the two surfaces touch, you think, yeah, they're pretty close together. But if you put 100 elastic bands around them as well, think about how much more tightly those two surfaces would be squeezed together. Same principle, okay? When the gut wall gets inflamed, whether that's from localized infection, whether that is from drinking or processed foods or whatever, when that happens, the tight junction starts to break down. So that means we get something, I hate the terminology because it's not truly accurate, but I mean, it's called, the real term is like increased intestinal permeability. Some people call it leaky gut.
Leaky gut, yeah.
You haven't got a leaky gut, but all it means is you've got a breakdown of barrier function, but you have a breakdown of the tight junction, and things can start to get into our general circulation and cause problems as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But also when that happens, when the tight junction breaks down, the mucus layer that sits on top of the enterocytes starts to break down as well. And the mucus layer is what actually sticks the microbiome to the gut. So that whole thing will start to fall apart. But glutamine, working on this base level, can start to repair the tight junction. It can start to tone down any localized inflammation. It essentially repairs that surface. That then means that you start to get a healthy mucus layer again. That then means, providing you're focusing on bringing in more whole foods and having a high fiber, good plant diverse diet, that you'll start to regenerate the microbiome as well. So incrementally, these things will start to improve if you take the right action, if you do the right things.
Yeah.
So that's really as simple as it. And also B vitamins.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it will annihilate your B vitamins. Like, regular drinking always will leach them from the body quite quickly. So a good B complex, something that a B100 is what I would recommend. And B100, what that means is it's got all of the B vitamins in there, but it's either got 100 milligrams or 100 micrograms, depending what each one is measured in, of all of the B vitamins. Never take B vitamins in isolation because they work together and recycle each other. And
so you wouldn't take B12 on its own?
Not on its own.
No.
Take it all as a complex. Take it all as a complex because they do work interdependently. And if you take large amounts of single ones, they can actually create artificial deficiency signs in others. So, and it's simple. It just means one capsule a day.
Exactly. Yeah.
That will help to support the nervous system. So that will calm the nervous system. And if there's the nervous tension, that will help to ease that. Magnesium can do that as well.
Yeah. I'm a very big fan of that.
Really improve energy levels as well, because the B vitamins, some of the B vitamins are used for turning food into energy, essentially. Doing these things will put you in the best possible place.
What about for the gut health? What's your view on probiotics or fermented foods? Apple cider vinegar. Some people would say, take a shot of apple cider vinegar.
I think it's nice on a salad. I think there's any vinegars will have acetic acid in there, and acetic acid does benefit the microbiome. Is it a wonder drug that some people make it out to be? No, it's not. It's it's got a few more minerals than some of the other vinegars. The jury's out with probiotics. So obviously, like Dr. Alan Desmond, obviously, I'm sure you might have come across his work before. Good friend of mine. He's a consultant gastroenterologist that works a lot with diet, and he's always talking about the microbiome. He's like, absolutely no need for probiotics. But then I've seen world leaders on the subject of probiotic use in clinical settings really argue a strong case for their application. I think if there's a reason to take them, then they're beneficial.
But it's also if they survive and thrive, though, isn't it? Because there's this school of thought that says a lot of probiotics don't actually make it to the gut.
when I see people in clinic that have, and I think there's maybe some of these gut issues going on, I do a 3-step process, and it's the 3 R's: repair, re-inoculate, and reinforce. Okay, so the repair is what I spoke about before, which is the glutamine. Before you think about taking any probiotics, you've got to make sure that the whole barrier, the whole surface, is conducive to having a thriving bacterial colony, because if it's not, then it's just going to be money down the drain. So the first R, repair. Glutamine for 6 weeks or a month. Do it for a month. Month 2, you move on to re-inoculate. So you're carrying on with the glutamine, but then bringing in a broad spectrum probiotic. Now that you've created a better environment, you can start to repopulate it with multi-strains. Don't just take acidophilus on its own.
No, exactly. You need multi.
Take one that's got as many strains as you can find. So something like Biocult or similar that's got multiple strains of bacteria in there.
What's your view on Simprove, which is the liquid one? Do you know Simprove?
I think that's good, but I would take that when the gut's a little healthier.
Okay, yeah.
If there is any inflammatory stuff going on. So that's month 2. Then month 3, you're carrying on with the glutamine, you're carrying on with the probiotic, but then you're reinforcing it. So you start using things like oligosaccharides, FOS. You might see the powder called FOS, fructooligosaccharide. And also, hopefully, we have a very high fiber and plant-rich diet. But the fructooligosaccharide, it's a type of sugar, a beneficial sugar. Some sugars are very beneficial, that doesn't get broken down in the small intestine like other simple sugars do. It actually requires something that we call saccharolytic fermentation, which is the fermentation and breakdown by bacteria. And when the microbiome starts to feed on these types of sugars, these oligosaccharides, several things start to happen. Firstly, it causes the bacterial colony to actually divide and multiply, and you get a greater bacterial number, and you also get greater bacterial diversity as well. So that's the first thing that happens. But also they release byproducts. It's a byproduct of that fermentation process, things called short chain fatty acids, the two most important ones being butyrate and propionate. Butyrate actually helps to stimulate those same repair mechanisms within the enterocytes, within the gut wall. So it further improves the health of the environment. And then the propionate, that actually helps with appetite regulation. So it's probably a little less relevant, but you're reinforcing everything that you've done. So that 3-step process I use with a lot of my own patients where there's some serious gut stuff going on, and it can be very, very effective. If someone's already healthy, if someone's already got a good diet, if there's no real obvious gastrointestinal stuff going on, would they need a probiotic? Probably not. Just carry on with the healthy habits.
Yeah, absolutely. We could talk for hours, Dale, but I'm aware of time. Let's just finish off with give us one healthy recepe, or tell me what you're having for dinner, or what you might make for lunch tomorrow.
Yeah,
something simple.
Already. That's
a super simple
one. I'll
one.
tell you what, this is really good, especially for people that are maybe a little resistant to eating their greens.
Yeah,
especially. And I've done this recipe at cooking demos, and I've had the most hardcore vegetable dodging teenagers come back with second and third helpings. Okay, yeah. Satay greens.
Okay,
satay greens. So start off with a couple of cloves of garlic, fresh chili, some red onion, maybe a leek as well. Saute all of that with a good pinch of sea salt until all that starts to get soft, until the onion and the leek softens and everything becomes much more aromatic. At that stage, throw in shredded spring greens. Cavolo Nero works really well as well. You can maybe throw in a few mushrooms as well. Carry on cooking it until that all starts to soften nicely. Then you've got a teaspoon of honey, 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, a heaped tablespoon of peanut butter, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice. Yeah? You mix that together. I know it sounds like I've lost the plot, like honey, peanut butter, and green vegetables.
No, it sounds amazing.
Trust me. It's incredible. It is so good. Honestly, if you don't like peanut butter, then sorry, but that one's probably not for you. Yeah. But if you love that sort of flavor profile, if you like that kind of Southeast Asian type vibe, then it's very, very nice.
Love it.
It's so simple, but it's a perfect example of how you bring these healthy ingredients to life. Nobody said that eating well means eating a boring diet.
No, exactly. It's exactly. And as you know, I've chatted to you many times before, and you know, as you always say, it's about what you add in, isn't it? You know, if the meal that you've got is not that fantastic, just add something in that perks it up a bit, you know. Exactly. Or if you're out and about and you've got to have something that's a bit crappy, just add in something else that's decent.
All I'm saying is when you're out and about, don't kick your own ass for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make the best choice that you can.
Yeah.
Or just enjoy what's in front of you, and then your next meal you carry on like nothing's ever happened.
Yeah, I think on the radio interview you were saying that over the years you've relaxed a bit. There is a little bit of that 80-20 principle, isn't there? You know, we can't eat perfectly all the time. It's not the way it is.
No, it's impossible. And also, again, that starts moving into quite an unhealthy relationship with food. And so certainly when I was really early on in this journey, I was absolutely puritanical with everything.
Yeah,
it really was militant almost. But you know what? Life's too short.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have a pie.
If you eat a whole chocolate cake every day, there's going to be stuff going on.
Yeah.
If at the weekend, I mean, we always do Sod It Sunday.
Yeah.
So Sod It Sunday is like mountains of roast potatoes, dessert, whatever, sitting on the sofa like a spud and just enjoying it. And it just makes life worth living.
Yeah, totally. Love it. Dale, thank you so much. Just remind us where we can find your books and everything that you do.
Blimey. So just my website is the best bet. Just
dalepinnock.com.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's all the books and the health plans and different odds and ends on there. I'm pretty active on social. So Instagram's my main one as well. So if you are on Instagram, then just look for the Medicinal Chef.
Thank you, Dale. And there's some exclusive content in the Sober Club as well, from Dale with recipes and other fantastic tips. So if you've been thinking about joining us in the Sober Club, now's as good a time as any. thesoberclub.com. It's for both the sober and the sober curious, people who are on day one and people who've been sober for many years, because we do the whole holistic picture. And I hope that chat has inspired you to get back to eating healthily, because, you know, as we said in that piece, you don't have to be perfect. We're really not expecting you to put a hair shirt on and not enjoy anything anymore. You know, just be mindful that you can make some healthier swaps, and you can make it fun that way around. And if you are early days, you know, it's really beneficial to do this, because it will just, as I say, help balance that brain chemistry when you're eating properly. Bit of protein with every meal to start with, and just help keep everything balanced. So just a reminder there, Wednesday 18th of June, Club Soda. Really hope you can come. Check out thesoberclub.com/events. And just a reminder that if you're doing this, reach out, tell someone, let someone know. You can absolutely message me at Janey Lee Grace on social media, and I'll hold that vision for you. And of course, the connection is key. So come to our live event, join us in the Sober Club, tell someone. That's the important thing. Tell someone. And if you're really struggling and you need more support than a community group can offer, then please reach out for the support you need. Alcohol Change UK, I've got some fantastic resources, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.